Well, hello and welcome to another video by Financial Learning. On today's video, we're going to take a look at the Bitcoin mining sector. We're going to look at their short interest with respect to their free floats. We're going to pay a little bit of closer attention to the top five. As you may know, President Trump has just tweeted about cryptocurrencies as well as Ethereum and Bitcoin in general. So with that, the market has been reacting this weekend. So I'm interested to see how these Bitcoin mining stocks will react when the market opens on Monday. There are some stocks that do trade overnight, and we're already seeing some volatility, some increase in share prices for those. But let's take a closer look at the existing short score ranking as of the Friday trading period. Will these shorts be in for some trouble on Monday? Will there potentially be some squeezes on hand? And recall, we just finished the month, which means we will be getting some press releases on some of these miners as they disclose the amount of Bitcoin mined, as well as any other operational activities. I'm looking forward to that as well. So with all that said, let's get right into it. All right, so jumping into the sector overview, we're going to take a look at the entire Bitcoin mining sector, their short interest score. So first thing I want to show is the last price. You're going to see that all of these Bitcoin miners on Friday did close positive except for Canaan, and you can see this based on the fact that the last price is in green versus Canaan in red. Moving over to share short value, and short percent, the ones that have the green filled cells mean that the short interest for those Bitcoin miners did grow compared to the previous trading day. And then the red ones, of course, those would have been the ones that the short interest did get reduced. Moving over to the free float column, the ones that have the yellow highlighted cell, those are the ones that the free float has changed since the last reported date of information, which was 1 week ago from my last video. And then looking down overall from a sector, from the Bitcoin mining sector, you can see the total amount of shares being shorted is at 561 million. You can see the short value is actually $4.12 billion, and the overall short interest percent of this 15 different Bitcoin mining companies comes out at 18.35%. So the free float value overall is at $20.239 billion. And if you were to actually go back in January of 19, that is when I did a previous Bitcoin mining short interest score video. At that point in time, and this is without Canaan being added to the mix, so there were only 14 Bitcoin miners I was reporting back then, the free float value for those 14 mining stocks actually came out to $27 billion. So there's been about $7 billion getting erased from the Bitcoin mining sector in just a little over 1 month period. So I'm interested to see if the overall Bitcoin mining sector's free float value does begin to increase, especially after President Trump did put out that tweet this weekend. We did see quite a bit of volatility, as I mentioned. So looking back 1 week prior on February 22nd, you could see the overall shares being shorted was less at 533,985,000. And you can see the short interest percent for the overall Bitcoin mining sector came in at 17.36%. So the overall sector has increased by short interest by an additional 1%, although the value of those shorted shares became less because the overall sector did lose some value. I think it's interesting that there's still a large amount of shares being shorted. So again, if the price does rapidly increase, will some of these shorts be in trouble? Another thing to pay attention to is going to be these specific companies will be putting out their February mining metrics this week, most likely. So we'll see a lot of press releases from these companies. We also have some earnings coming out, and you will get some updates on other operational activities. So with all of the information coming out and the potential of the US government to actually have a Bitcoin reserve, will we see some of these companies beginning to squeeze in terms of their value, where these shorts will have to cover at much higher prices? I guess we'll all have to wait and see. None of this is financial advice, just want to put it out there, but I do find it rather interesting with the macroeconomics now being involved and just the way that this overall sector has been getting constricted in terms of short interest value. I am very interested to see how this trading week unfolds. And now let's jump straight into the top 5 most shorted Bitcoin miners. for the week of March 2nd, looking back on that previous Friday trading period. Coming in at number 5 on our list is RIOT Platforms. That is ticker symbol RIOT. You can see as of the Thursday trading period close, they had a short interest percent of free float at 23.51%. Looking back 1 week prior, it was 21.82%. So an increase in short interest for RIOT Platforms just from 1 week ago. Moving over to days to cover, it's currently at 2.24 days. And then jumping over to utilization, they have a utilization at 45.37%. And if you haven't watched one of the videos previously, the utilization is going to be the number of shares shorted divided by the overall number of shares available on loan. And the short score comes out at 66.93. Moving down into the live short interest percent of free float, and this would be for the Friday trading period, is estimated at 23.1%. And taking a look at the Interactive Brokers short availability, last reported shares available at 1.7 million with a cost to borrow of 0.39%. Coming in at number 4 on our list is Bit Digital. That is ticker symbol BTBT. They had a short interest percent of free float on Thursday trading period at 23.43%. Looking back 1 week prior, it was actually 24.86%. So they actually had a decrease in the short interest percent of free float for BTBT. Moving over to days to cover, it's at 1.93 days, and then jumping over to utilization, actually very high at 84.2%. And the short score for BTBT is sitting at 69.97. Moving down into the live short interest percent of free float, it's estimated as of that Friday trading period at 23.37%. So again, a decrease in short interest percent of free float compared to that previous trading day. And jumping down to Interactive Broker short availability, you can see last reported shares available at 4.3 million with a cost to borrow at 0.34%. And coming in at number 3 on our list is Mara Holdings. That is ticker symbol MARA. They had a short interest percent of free float at 25.22%. Looking back 1 week prior, it was at 25.14%. So an increase for short interest percent of free float for Mara. Moving over to days to cover, it's at 1.9, and utilization sitting again at a high 80.87%. Then the short score coming in at 72.86. Moving down into that Friday live short interest percent of free float, it's estimated at 25.42%. So an increase on short interest percent of free float compared to that previous trading day. And moving down to Interactive Brokers short availability, last reported shares available at 5.1 million with a cost to borrow at 0.45%. And coming in at number 2 on our list is TeraWulf. That is ticker symbol WULF. They had a short interest percent of free float at 27% for that Thursday trading period. Looking back 1 week prior, was at 25.22%. So an increase for short interest percent of free float for TeraWulf. Moving down to days to cover, it's at 2.05 days, and then the utilization sitting at a high 71.89%, and a short score for TeraWulf coming in at 69.05. And moving down to live short interest data for TeraWulf, this is going to be for that Friday trading period. It has an estimated short interest percent of free float at 26.9%. So a decrease in short interest percent of free float for TeraWulf. And looking at the Interactive Brokers short availability, last reported shares available at 1.1 million with a cost to borrow at 0.54%. And rounding out the top of our short interest percent of free float for the Bitcoin mining sector is CleanSpark. That is ticker symbol CLSK. They had a short interest percent of free float at 27.73%. Looking back 1 week prior on that last Thursday, it was at 27.69%. So an increase for short interest percent of free float for CleanSpark. Moving over to days to cover, it's currently at 2.68 days, and a utilization sitting at a high 78.26%. Looking at the short score for CleanSpark, it is at 72.18. And then moving down into live short interest percent of free float for CleanSpark for that Friday trading period is estimated to be at 27.81%. So another increase on short interest percent of free float for CleanSpark. And lastly, looking at Interactive Brokers short availability, last reported shares available at 2.4 million with a cost to borrow at 0.61%. All right, and that about wraps up for me, folks. I hope you enjoyed this quick update on the short interest percent of free float for the Bitcoin mining sector. We did jump into the top 5 most shorted Bitcoin mining stocks. What are your thoughts on these Bitcoin mining stocks? Do you think we will see any squeeze this week with some of the activities going on with the president shouting out Bitcoin, and we've already started to see a change in Bitcoin price? Will we see other catalysts in the Bitcoin mining sector, whether it be earnings reports, whether it be some operational updates that catch the entire market by surprise? I am interested to see exactly what this week has for us, and I hope you are as well. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts about these short interest percent of free float for the Bitcoin mining sector. Which one of these stocks is your favorite company as far as following and fundamentals? And then what do you think we have this week in terms of any squeeze activities? Do you think it'll be just a lackluster week for the Bitcoin miners, or do you think we will see some exciting movements this week? Love to hear your thoughts on that. And with all that said, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.